Hey, how's it going? Jossie here. In this video series, I am bringing you the ultimate Disc Priest guide, okay, for RBGs. So I'm going to be covering everything you need to know, okay, and I mean literally everything that I know about Disc Priest for RBGs, I'm going to be covered in this series. Now, this is the first part of the series, and in this part, I'm going to be covering builds, okay, and that includes like talents, gear, etc, etc. Basically everything that composes your character. I'm going to be talking about how to set up for Disc Priest RBGs in this video. Now, just as a quick disclaimer, in my opinion, builds are like the least important thing, okay, about succeeding RBGs and getting high rating. Like, I'll take a good player over someone who has the right build or the right class or whatever any day, always. Right? What's really important is actually being smart about what you're doing, right? And knowing what to do and where to be. And I will be covering those in the later parts of this series, but one thing about builds is that it's extremely easy to change, right? It's by far the easiest thing you can change instantly. You can have some bigger numbers, you know, better meters, and that's important, right? There's no excuse at all not to optimize your build. All right, so let's jump into it. First, we're going to go over race and get through this real quick because it's honestly not that important. For Horde, you're going to want to play Undead. The Will of the Forsaken is extremely powerful, especially in RPGs where, you know, the trinket is important, but not like life or death. Whereas like in Arena, you misplace a trinket and you die, right? But basically in RPGs, Will of the Forsaken gives you a second trinket because there's fears going on everywhere. So definitely the best. And then for Alliance, you're going to want to play Human for basically the same reason. As Human, you get to break stuns, which is better than fears, obviously. But basically you get a second trinket use. Also good is Goblins and Night Elves for their respective factions. These guys are also great, but it takes a lot more effort to learn how to use, and you have to actually know how to use their ratios properly to get good value out of it. So still great, but for quick use, I'd recommend Undead or Human. Okay, next, let's get into our talents. So for our talents, on the first row, we're going to be running Twist of Fate. Now, Twist of Fate is just a massive, massive throughput. The uptime on this is really, really high in RPGs because people are always dipping up and down life. You're always going to heal someone below 35% health, especially when this meta where damage is so high. So this is like one of the best talents in all of the rows, actually. So always take Twist of Fate. Second row, we take Body and Soul. Now, because we're taking Trinity as a PvP talent, we use Power Shield a lot. So this talent gets a ton of value, and basically having an on-demand speed boost anytime you want is really, really useful for positioning. In the next row, we'll take Shield Discipline. This one's a bit of a controversial one, but Shield Discipline in RBGs in a 10v10 scenario provides so much more mana than Solace does, and it's passive too. So Solace uses a lot of GCDs, which is like really, really bad for Disc Priest. So always take Shield Discipline. Even on small skirmishes like with 5 people or 4 people, this produces more mana than Solace. Fourth row, we run Shining Force. This is a great ability for objective play, of course. You can push people out, knock people off bridges and stuff. On most maps, I would run Shining Force. There are some maps which I might want to run Second Voice if you can't get any value out of this, but if you just want a good default ability, take Shining Force. Is great for peeling as well for yourself or for your allies. Psychic Scream is also not as great in RPGs because of the DR. So you have people cloning everywhere and warriors fearing and stuff, and it's not basically, you don't rely on Psychic Voice as much to secure kills as you do in arenas. Next row, we always take Sins of the Many. This is a very nice passive damage boost. Even though we keep up a lot of atonements, it still gives like 4% I think at the minimum. So just a nice passive to have. These other talents are really trash. Like, you rarely use Penance defensively, so this doesn't do anything, and then you don't want to like lock yourself out of Shadow. This is kind of a troll ability. Sixth row, I run Purge the Wicked. Now, this is also a super, super mandatory talent. Okay, Purge the Wicked is the very core of our atonement healing, right? This is an absolutely mandatory ability. Without it, the kit just doesn't work at all. These two are decent, but like just not as good as Purge the Wicked, of course. So always take this. And for the very last row, we take Lenience. Lenience also, once again, just nice passive to have. All these like small, these are all like the small decent passives which just give more throughput for us. The only exception to taking Lenience is if you take multiple Disc Priests. So Lenience doesn't actually stack. If you have 2 Priests of Lenience, they both push shield up, damage reduction is only 3% total. So only in cases where you have multiple Disc Priests and you know you're going to be in the same fight at the same time. So that means on maps like maybe better for Conduits or something, one of you can run Evangelism. Just make sure one of you at least still runs Lenience. Most of the time by default I just keep Lenience on anyways, because even on a map like, you know, Gilneas, you might still be separated from that Disc Priest, one of you peels back to mine or something, and then it's really nice to have Lenience instead of Evangelism. The talent tree is pretty locked in because of talents that I've chosen here are so powerful for RBGs. I basically never ever change any of these for any map or any situation, except for maybe this row here with Psychic Voice. Okay, next let's talk about PvP talents, honor talents. Also gonna be a little boring here, but honestly, these 3 talents, I always take them every single game, no exceptions. I never change them up. First we have Trinity here. So the mana usage of a Disc Priest, most of it comes from applying atonements. Your Austin spells actually don't cost that much mana compared to like Shield and Shadowland. And Trinity, doubling the duration of atonements is like almost a double mana efficiency talent. Just in one talent, right? You're increasing mana efficiency by like 40% or something. So that's super insane. And you always want to take this. If you don't take Trinity, you're just going to before every other healer, guaranteed. And then the bonus crit for Smite, Penance, Shadow Fiend is just a nice bonus, basically. I mean, it's quite a big throughput because you're pesting Penance a lot. So it's really nice to have and just makes the talent really busted. Second talent, we have Ultimate Radiance. Now, Ultimate Radiance did receive a very big nerf in 9.1. Reduces bonus by almost half, right? Because from 250 to 150. However, it's still going to be mandatory. Without making Radiance instant cast, like this priest have no other way to do instant burst healing. Especially in this meta, like the damage output is massive and it's so fast that you really need something like Radiance, like a button like Radiance in order to save your team. Radiance still, if you can get like 5 people that are all damaged, it's actually really good mana efficiency. It's great value. Obviously, it does burn mana if you only heal like 1 person, but it's still better than having that person die. So Ultimate Radiance still a mandatory talent, unfortunately. And then in our final slot, we run Dome of Light. So I've talked to a bunch of Disc Priests about this, and some people say they'd rather run Archangel, they'd rather Dark Archangel. Some of them are trying the new talent, Inner Shadow. No way. You're never going to convince me to drop Dome of Light. Dome of Light is... So Barrier is definitely the best defensive ability in RBGs. Like it's pace press for your whole team. Probably, in my opinion, the best defensive ability in the whole entire game for RBGs, just because it's like AoE damage reduction, right? And this one talent reduces the cooldown by half and doubles the effectiveness, right? Essentially, it's making your barrier 4 times as good as it normally would be with this one talent. So like this wins team fights, right? You drop a dome down and then your team survives the wing, survives the convoke. You know, your tank lives, you survive the grippy hands, like, and you're getting twice as many domes with running this talent. Like it's not worth like what, like 10% more healing or something. Not even close. So I always take dome. In fact, these 2 talents, I just never change these up. They're so incredibly powerful. The other talents are even powerful enough. Like they're good too, but just don't even compare to these guys. All right, next, let's talk about Covenant. So for RBGs, you're going to want to run Venthyr. Now, Venthyr gives you Mind Games, which is really good kill potential, right? Massive kill potential. And also Door Shadows, which is pretty good for feeling mobility. Now, in 9.0, I had recommended going Night Fae for RBGs, and that's still true to that point. However, the meta in 9.1 has been really high damage, where most of the games I'm not playing for mana, but just playing to try to keep my team alive, right? Try to survive the initial burst, or getting kills myself, which is where Venthyr comes into play. Like, you have Mind Games and you combine it with Maledict, and it's just crazy because obviously you can't dispel both if you wait for the other one to finish, and it's just so much pressure. And even as a Disc Priest, as a healer, like with Mind Games, with Maledict, I'm able to secure kills like almost by myself. Like me and 1 DPS can just burst someone down instantly, and that's so much value, so much better than any other Covenants can provide. So take Venthyr, try to time your Mind Games well, and you won't need to play for mana because you just be able to kill their team. Alright, for your Soulbind, I recommend playing Theotar. First ability, Soothing Shade, is just a pretty nice passive bonus on healing, essentially. Like every once in a while, the umbrella comes down. Try to watch out for it, stay inside of it. Because we don't build for mastery, having this 550 bonus mastery is actually really huge. And with the amount of atonement healing we do in RBGs, this is actually a pretty big boost to your total HPS. Next, in our first finesse conduit, of course, we're running Clear Mind. Clear Mind did get nerfed in 9.1, but it's still the best finesse conduit. These are some of our core abilities, obviously, Dispels and Purges. Reducing mana cost is just super useful in RBGs. In this one, of course, we have 2 charges for Leisurely Gates for Door Shadows, which is really nice. Basically, team fights generally last more than like 3 minutes, right? So at the end of a team fight, you can have 2 stacks of Door Shadows, and you can just use it twice. Essentially, you get like a free mount off. Helps a little bit. Like, Priest is already probably the worst peeling healer, but this definitely helps a little bit at least. In our first potency conduit, like I said, we're running Radiance. Radiance is still going to be mandatory, and this talent. So this talent actually stacks on top of Ultimate Radiance, like multiplicatively, which means this is actually really big boost, right? It's like 60% boost on top of the 150% bonus. So Radiance still heals a decent amount. Let me see how much it heals here. Radiance still heals for 9.6k, so still 10k, a lot less than before, even though I have more gear now. But 10k on 5 players is still very nice. This row doesn't matter, just pick whatever. Our one and only endurance conduit, I like to run this new condensed atmosphere. It's a passive, so it's just like a lot of nice throughput. Just, you know, heals all the pad damage, tons of starfalls going around. So just having this nice 4% of your max health every 10 seconds is pretty nice to have. Our second potency conduit, I'm going to be running Exaltation. This is a nice one as well. Rapture increased by 1 and 11% increase on the bonus, which is actually quite big, right? Rapture is like great for mana efficiency because we're going to be applying the shields anyways for atonements, and this would just basically give them really big shields, so we get huge heals and nice that we're going to cast anyways. Next we have Token Appreciation. This is just a passive, like whenever someone heals you or gives you a buff, you get a shield, so just throughput doesn't really affect how we play or anything like that. In our final potency conduit, we run Swift Penitence. Penance being one of our main offensive abilities. Basically always want to cast Penance off cooldown, so this increase in damage of the first bolt by 45% is very nice. Alright, onto the new section for 9.1, the extended tree. We have It's Always Tea Time. This is just a passive where when the shade comes down, you just want to stand in it, it heals you a bit, and this is damage. You're already looking to stand in it anyways to get a massive mastery boost, so the damage reduction is just like an added bonus. And then we get another finesse conduit, which is really nice because now we can take Move with Grace, reducing Leap of Faith's cooldown. Leap of Faith is one of the most underrated abilities, I think, for Priest, and people think it's good. I know that, but like it's really good. It's almost like if you play it right, it can act as a defensive cooldown, right? Saving your ally like instantly from all damage. It can assist in objectives like getting the cart, and of course on tank maps it's just absolutely insane for getting a tank across everywhere. And 32-second reduction is like 33%, so it's really nice to have. And then in the very last row, we get Party Favors, which just means that we get a free stat. Like we just go pick up a potion, you drink it, it lasts 4 hours, and then you get free verse. Obviously that's just very nice to have. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is your legendary. So for legendaries in 9.1, this priest have a couple good options actually. We have Pt.1, which means every once in a while you get a double penance. You use Radiance quite a lot these days with how much damage is going out, so you actually get this very frequently, 60%. So like every 2 Radiances you get another penance. And this gives you massive burst potential, which you already have a lot of with Maledict and Mind Games, and now you have this penance, this double penance as well. You combine it with the proc, Power of Darkside proc, and you can just like delete people. This is actually what I'm running right now, and I've been having great success with it. It's really nice to set up like big burst windows, and you call this out and you can coordinate with DPS and you can just snipe kills along with nice timed Mind Games. This is really nice to have on a team where you have like maybe a lot of melee or a lot of like, you know, burst potential or like target switching potential where you and everyone else switch to one target and just blow them up immediately. Another great talent is actually this Crystalline Reflection. So this is also, once again, playing for damage, right? This is more of like rot damage, pad damage, where obviously you use shields a lot, you use Rapture a lot, and this just gives some free damage out to everybody. The overall damage is going to be higher than Pt.1 provides, but obviously it's not bursty, so not as effective in killing people. But if you're playing a comp that's like, you know, full boomies or like with locks or something, then this is a really nice power to have where you can contribute to the rot and make it, you know, even harder for the healers to keep up. And finally, we have good old Sepha's Proclamation. This is just the default power where like if you want to play more safe instead of going for kills and pumping damage, or if you just want generally more throughput where you're less CC and you have just more stats overall, this is still a very, very nice power to have. All right, and the very last thing I want to cover is your gear. So gearing in this patch is super easy for this priest. Our gear priority is going to be, our stat priority is going to be verse first, and then haste, and then crit and mastery about equal. But we won't get into much of that anyways. The gear we want is basically all of the Unchained Gladiator, right? So just build every conquest and buy all the pieces from the vendor or from your vault for Unchained Gladiator, and try to get verse haste on every single piece. The pieces where you can't get haste, there are some where you don't have haste as an option, then get either crit or mastery. Crit's probably a bit better because we can already get a lot of mastery from Theotar's Umbrella proc. So that's the basic gear set. For trinkets, we want to run Medallion, of course, always need that, you know, for spin bases or anything like that. And we want to run Maledict. Now, Maledict is just incredibly powerful right now, especially in RBGs where you get so many of these. Like, there's only 3 healers, right? They can only dispel 3 things. So when you have more than 3 Maledict shackles going off, they just eat it all. And you contribute to that with your 6 DPS and just, yeah, you can single people out and make sure they're dead. If you really don't run around Maledict, even though I highly recommend it, you can run the Instinct of Alacrity. This gives a huge haste boost and obviously a proc of primary stats. So this is just going to be a nice like overall stat bonus and great for throughput. For gem slots, if you're lucky enough to get any, just put in the 16 verse. Can never have enough verse as a Disc Priest. It's our best stat, and of course it's amplified by the PvP trinket bonus. And then for enchants, so on our cloak, we're taking the minor move speed. Very, very nice to have. For the chest, we have 6% mana. For the bracers, of course, we have intellect, we have verse on the 2 rings, and for the weapon, we're using celestial guidance. And boom, there you go. Everything you need to know about setting up your Disc Priest in the optimal way. Now, once again, guys, build is easy thing to change, right? You just log in and you just switch up your talents. Like, it takes... in 10 minutes, you can log in right now and in 10 minutes, just copy everything over, have everything set up perfectly, Soulbinds and everything. And you just be able to heal a little bit better, right? Like, it's not a big change, but there's no reason not to do this. Every little bit counts. I've had multiple games where people survive with like, you know, 1% HP or something, and that's where the difference comes in, right? For your build, or like you run out of mana 5 seconds slower, right? Take the time to squeeze out every little bit of optimization you can get for something so simple, and you know, play your Disc Priest as best as you can, right? All right, there you go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something today. Please give my video a like and subscribe if you did. I would really, really appreciate it. Yeah, and get out there and just crush some games. Climb the ladder, you know, heal as much as you can. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.